We Live in Time. This is a film that's following this couple, following Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh's characters, two of the more prominent actors that I think we're experiencing in this day. Obviously, Andrew Garfield, very very famous, Spider-Man, of course, and Florence Pugh has just been on the ascent over the past, sort of 5 or 6 years or so, just constantly working, constantly in a ton of projects. Doesn't appear that she takes a break, but she's coming off of
Man.
two really, really big movies. Last year's Oppenheimer, of course, one of the most successful movies of 2023. And this year was attached to the cast of Dune Part 2. And so she is certainly experiencing new levels of profound success. And these two coming together, it's really, really interesting because I think a lot of people, even if you're not a huge cinephile, if you're not a huge movie fan, you're probably hip to what this movie is. I've talked to a few people and they know what We Live in Time is. I think just purely based on the star power of both Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. And so, this is definitely one of the more anticipated releases of the fall, just because of the names attached to it. But with all of that out the way, I will pass it to you, man. What did you think about this brand new romance drama, We Live in Time?
Yeah, I was super excited to see this movie because of everything you just said. I love Andrew Garfield. I love Florence Pugh. People know how I feel about these two actors in particular. And so I was interested to see what they could bring in an A24 drama. It's just like, whoa, this seems like a match made in heaven. What is this movie? And this movie is about Florence Pugh plays this upcoming chef, and Andrew Garfield is like this recent divorcee, and some things happen and they kind of fall in love, and it's their story chopped up into bits. It's kind of told out of order, and I'm going to start with the very small nitpick that I have in this movie, actually, in that I don't think it necessarily had to be told out of order. There are small things in this movie where I thought usually something's told out of order by the end, you're like, oh, that's why it was told like that. And I do think there is a little bit of merit in it, but I think it was one of the few things in the movie I was like, I don't know if it had to be there per se. In the other small nitpick I have is, I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending is just like, oh, okay. I didn't expect us to go. I don't know. I just didn't want it to end that way, I guess. But I enjoyed this movie a lot. It's a very heartfelt movie. The charisma of Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are both just radiating off the screen. I think they have good chemistry. I think they have good acting beats. This movie will and probably did, if you're listening to this and have seen it, probably did make you cry. I mean, the theater was sniffling. I remember there was some marketing for this movie where like they were legit giving out like tissue as you walk into the movie theater, like A24 tissue. And I was like, dang, it's gonna be one of those. And it did turn out to be one of those. But I love what it has to say about, I guess love and in circumstances that surround it, and what it means to take someone, I guess, wholeheartedly for who they are, and in the ways you decide to live because of it. It was really heartfelt. It was really interesting. I enjoyed myself. I thought John Crowley had a good handle on the film, man. And yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I like what it had to say, and by the end of it I left satisfied. And it's funny because this movie will make you sad, but not in the ways I think that could have been cliche. Like it does kind of, I think on the surface level you do think it's going to be like, dang, is this going to be one of those movies I've seen before? And it turns out to be something a little bit different, and I appreciated that about it, man. So yeah, We Live in Time. I really like this film. It's good.
I think that this script in the hands of a lot of other actors doesn't really work for me. It's probably a movie that is mediocre at best, but because Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are just so damn good at their jobs, I really, really liked this movie quite a lot, just because their chemistry, it's pretty insane. It's so natural. It feels so right and so correct. I never questioned the relationship between these two. As you mentioned, it is a non-linear story, and a lot of what you see in the beginning is them already together. You don't even see like how they come together just yet. And then that stuff starts to become more apparent throughout the development of the film, and you see the challenges that are at play, the obstacles that they deal with. And if you've seen the trailer, this is not a spoiler, you know that Florence Pugh's character is dealing with some sort of sickness, some life-threatening sickness. You could probably guess it's some form of cancer, of course. And they have to figure out how to cope with this and how to deal with this, especially considering they are at these very, very important places in their lives in particular, because they're at the age in which, I'm at the age now, like we're at that age where it's like, okay, yeah, we're still young, but at the same time, we want to take advantage of the time that we have. We want to fulfill opportunities. We want to take advantage of all of those things that are put forth in front of us, regardless of like all the other bullshit that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And you start to
Right.
feel like you're losing time. And this is all just like reinforcing
Mhm.
what the themes of the movie are. It's about the time that you have, and living up to that potential, and not wasting a moment, not wasting a second, and not regretting things. And all of that stuff really shined through to me. And that's really, again, just due to the performances of Garfield and Pugh. They were just fantastic together. And
Yeah.
ultimately, after I walked out and saw this movie, it just made me want to see them in other stuff. Like, I want them to
Mhm.
become the new modern version of Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, or the new modern version of Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Like, they just work together over and over and over again. They do like 4 different rom-coms, 4 different types of
Mhm.
stories. Hell, do a period piece. Do just like whatever you want to do, because like I'm gonna be here for it, because you two just work that well together. You can tell that they're friends. You can tell that that just all came through in a really genuine way. That's hard to do, especially for
Yeah.
something that does have so many dramatic beats to it, because this is a heavy and emotional movie. It will likely break you down and make you feel sad and make you cry. All of those things are very, very apparent. But the fact that, I think even after it, you kind of still walk out, at least for me, with a sense of hope, and a sense of like,
Mhm.
oh wow, that felt fulfilling. And I think that was like the
Yeah.
purpose of the movie, despite like the circumstances and what happened. Like, it ultimately still felt like it was a fulfilling experience, not only for me as an audience member, but of course for these characters and the stuff that they dealt with. So I thought it was pretty successful. I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to watch it again. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new romance drama We Live in Time. If you've checked it out, hit us up and let us know what you think about it.